All right, this is my new project using Next.js 14, Shadcn, Tailwind, Supabase, and Resend as an email service. This is the one I reconfigured Supabase with because Supabase default only allows for 3 emails sent per hour, which is not going to work because that means we can only register 3 people per hour. So that's why I had to go with Resend. They allow me to send 3,000 emails per month for free, and plus they don't have any kind of limitations like that. In this video, I'm going to cover login, logout, registration, middleware, and email validation setup. I'll also show how I configure this dark mode using Shadcn, and also the route guarding. For example, here when we try to go to the home page, but we're pushed back to the auth because that route has been guarded with Supabase authentication. And here is my Supabase backend. Currently I have only 1 user, so let's go ahead and register one more. All right, so I have this user set up for registration, HTML5 dev, and this is the email address, and I have the password all set. So I'm just going to go ahead and try to sign up. Boom, there you go. Sign up actually happened. All right, now let's check the backend. And look, this is our new user, and it's waiting for validation. So let's go check the email right here. There you go. We received the email from Supabase, and let's go confirm. Confirm your email. Boom, it logs me in, and I am into the dashboard. And also to verify that we actually used the Resend, and this is where I actually had to set up my domain. These are all the configuration they give us. And I took this configuration and went back to my DNS panel. I maintain that in a DigitalOcean. So this is where I created all those DNS entries, the MX records and everything. And with that, now let's check the log. And this is 7 minutes, actually 2 minutes ago, is the 200, and let's check this out. Boom, see? This is the successful email that was sent to this user. And once we confirm, let's go back and check. This is now a valid user. All right, so now let's go back here. And as you can see, this is our currently logged in user that is showing. And let's go ahead and, okay, let's quickly check the dark and light mode. Okay, dark mode, we're nice. And let's go back to logout. Boom, we are back in. And just to confirm, because we did not really fully logged in, I mean, through this login form. All right, so we just put in our recently created user's email address and the password, and hit login, and boom, we're redirected to the dashboard. And now we can just go anywhere we like. I do have a CRUD set up using a JSON server here, which is basically, create, edit, delete, and read. Read, as you can see here. All these I'm going to cover in the next video, but for now, I'm just going to stick to this login, redirection, logout, registration, and the email validation setup. That said, let's get to the code. All right, so this is my Next.js 14 backend. As you can see, a whole bunch of folders are here. But for this video's concern, we are going to need to look at this root folder, the app folder, and the component folder. So let's go inside the app folder. And this is where I have all my routes grouped into 2 different pieces. One is Auth, and this is where my authentication page is set. And under the main, I have a whole bunch of other pages. But this is not something we're going to go over in this video. But quickly, I just wanted to show you that with this middleware file, I just blocked all the routings inside this main folder. Basically, and this is basically this is how I've done my route guarding. So if you look at this middleware, before any request comes to this main folder, it's going to be facing this guy right here, where I'm creating a Supabase client and then getting the user information, supabase.auth.get user. And within that, I'm checking for errors or the absence of the user object. If it is not there or there's an error, it's going to go ahead and route you back to the /auth page. As you have seen before, no matter how many times I put the slash, and if it is not authenticated, it was pushing me back to the auth route. And that's where I have my login and registration form. And the most importantly, this is the key piece of code right here. As you can see, /main/ whatever. That means under main folder, whatever you put in, it's going to be blocked by this guy. And that's how the entire route guarding is happening. So now let's go and figure out how we set up the entire Supabase auth. For that, we're going to have to go to this Supabase documentation. We come here, we click on auth, and this is the page we're going to have to look into, server-side rendering, and then we should pick Next.js. And this is an excellent documentation. By the way, if you didn't know, recently, Supabase changed all their authentication API and functions and everything. So this is pretty much brand new, and that's what I followed. I just installed these guys, what Supabase is suggesting right here, and set up my .env.local file with these. And just by clicking on here and here, you can actually collect these two guys. It's very simple. And then they give you the necessary code to put in and tell you where to put it. Utils /supabase/client.ts, and the other one is utils/supabase/server.ts. This is pretty much the browser client, and this is the server-side client for Supabase. So let's go back to the code, and what we can see here, we go under utils, under Supabase, and we find the client one, and under the server.ts, we find the server.ts, just like they suggested right here. And then we go check on the middleware.ts. Now, this one file, they tell us to drop under the root folder, and the other one should go under utils Supabase middleware ts, this guy right here. So that's what I did. I went ahead and put the middleware here, the long one under Supabase, utils/Supabase, and then middleware ts. And the other one went straight under the root folder, middleware.ts, exactly as the doc suggested. Now here they give you some test components, the login form and server action, etc. But I did not follow this because I do not like server actions. They make my code look like PHP. I don't want to go back to PHP. I want to stay, in my current architecture, front end side handled in front end and back end side handled in back end, maintaining the separation of concern. So I did not follow these. I did it my way. I'll show you. And this piece of code we have to use under the confirmation email URL. And this is where they tell you to create an auth confirmation route. But I didn't follow this either. I created my own API for this, but I used the same code. Let me show you. Instead of their direction under the app folder, I created API. And this is where I put all my necessary stuff. For example, under the auth, I have the confirm folder and then route.ts. This is where I put that. And this is where I put all my login, logout, everything. And this is how I maintain my separation of concern inside the API folder. That means these are nothing but URL endpoints. They stay in the backend, and everything outside, they should be client facing. Anyway, so this is the route I created, and this is where I dumped my confirmation file, confirmation code. As far as this URL goes, I had to go, let's see, I had to come here under the auth and then email template. And this is where they actually give you certain variables in case you want to know what they are. And that's why, I just added this line as suggested, and I added these guys also so that I get to see what variables they actually represent. And for that reason, if we go back to the registered user, this confirmation email actually sends, besides the confirmation email, it sends all the variable values that I wanted to see. This is just for development purpose. I just wanted to see. You can put in anything you like, company information, etc., etc. But this is the template you should be using to get the email auth confirmation when the user gets validated by the backend. And this is the bit of code they actually tell you, like how, they suggest you how to use the route guarding and redirection, etc. This is where they tell you to do it this way: supabase.auth get user instead of some sort of a session or anything. They clearly tell you this is the best way to actually redirect to login page or wherever you want them to go after authentication. And that's what I showed you here under main and this middleware, and that's what I did. I just used supabase.auth.get user, and you probably know by now that this create client I brought in from util Supabase server, and that is right here, util Supabase server client middleware, etc. Right? All right, so now that you have seen this, let me show you how I used a custom email service in the backend so that I can avoid using Supabase's own emailing system, which has limitations. So I just go here, project settings, and then go under authentication. And I didn't touch any of these, but SMT settings. This is, sorry, SMTP settings. So this is where I collected, all the necessary information from the Resend. These guys right here. I collected my API key from here, set up my domain, all that. And then there's also other settings right here. Then I went back here and used this as a host, the port number that Resend suggested, and the regular interval, this username they suggest, and instead of a password, this is where the API key goes. And one thing to make sure that always remember, use the right domain for this sender email. This is very, very important, because what I made a mistake when I was setting it up, I used support@cyberizegroup.com, our company, and email, but it kept failing. As you can see in here, the logs. See, even an hour ago, I go here. See, I use Cyberize Group, and then it kept failing me. So I could not get my registration done. So then I had to make sure that whatever email I use conforms to this domain name, right? Because this is the one configured right here. So support@cyberizedev.com. I changed that, kept everything the same, saved, and then email started going through just like this, 200. Now let's go see how I set up the light and dark mode using Shadcn theming. All right, we're back to the Nextjs code. And in here, before I get into the theming, let's look at our package.json. These are all libraries, etc. I had to pull back in. And all these components are actually Shadcn components, since Shadcn library is based on Radix. So once I pull in all these necessary items from Shadcn, they actually come in as Radix UI. Also, most importantly, this is the one to look at, the Next themes. This is also I collected from the Shadcn UI UX. As you can see, Zod is right here for form validation and React hook form. All these we will see in action when we go into our login and registration page. But now let's look at the Next theme. Let's go to the provider folder. Here's the providers. Inside the provider, I have theme provider. And as you can see from Next themes, I brought in theme provider, and in here, just create the wrapper, Next theme provider, and everything else went inside, children, props, etc. And this one, I went ahead and went to under the app folder and the main layout file, and that's where I brought in this theme provider and wrapped up everything, children, toaster, everything, with the theme provider. And now that everything is wrapped by this one, so now let's go into the component that's in charge of theme changing. Let's go under global, theme toggler. See, this is the component that handles all the theme toggling. And here, from Next themes, I'm getting this hook called use theme, and that use theme is giving us the function called set theme, and that's the one I'm using right here to set my system theme, dark theme, light theme, etc. And this is what you see in action: light, dark system. My system set to white or the light mode. Here's the dark, and here's the light. And this is how this theming is taking place and implemented. Now let's go check out this page where we're going to see how this login and registration form is implemented. All right, so we are back at our Nextjs 14 code. So to find the login and registration form, let's go under app, and then go under auth and come here. This is the main page, and it's a very simple page calling nothing but auth tab. Where is auth tab? It is under component auth, components auth tab. So let's go under components, then under auth. Here we find all the necessary forms, login form, logout, registration, and auth tab. This auth tab is basically bringing in two main forms, login form and registration form, just like you see in here. This is the tab. And let's go look into the login form first. Here is the login form. Here I'm pulling in all the stuff from the Zod and the use form from React hook form, and Z from Zod, and all the necessary components from Shadcn UI, because once you npm install every component, that's where they go, under components/UI/form automatically. So let me show you under UI, and this is where all the Shadcn forms, Shadcn components are. Anyway, so once we bring all of them in, here is the form schema. This is the one, responsible for Zod-based validation. And right here, we brought in router for so that we can post login, we can route people towards different places. And we're using the React hook forms use form and including the Zod schema and configuring the whole form object. And this is our main function, the handle submit. But before we go into it, let's just look into the whole component. How is it built? All the way down to the login button. And also something to notice here, the error. And this error is actually something that we declared up here using useState. And right here, when everything fails or error object shows up, we're just collecting the backend error and setting the useState so that we can, show the error, backend error underneath all the inputs of the form. And in here, our handle submit that we set up right here, form.handle submit, and this one will take an argument data, and this is the type for the data, z.infer, etc., etc. And this is where this is actually combined data type using React Hook Form and Zod. And that's how the data is coming in, all verified and validated. And after we get the data, this is where we make a post request to. And this is exactly what I meant by separation of concern. Instead of using server actions, I use the API endpoint that I created myself in here, API/API/auth/login. And to find that, you have to go under apps and under API and under auth, and that's where you will find all the endpoints: confirm, login, logout, sign up. And this is the way I get to keep front end and back end separate, and with a different focus. But we will look into these very soon. So now, once we make a post request and send the data, and if it is successful, we response.ok, and then we push it to our home page. Otherwise, we show the error and keep them on the auth page or auth route. And now that we are here, let's look at the other ones also, the register from, the registration form. This is pretty much this is very similar to our login form with some extra bells and whistles. As usual, the Zod stuff and the React Hook Form stuff. And the schema is a little bit bigger here because we have extra items, name, email, password confirmation, etc. And similarly, I'm using useState so that we can show the backend error in our front end on our form, and the router object to redirect the user after successful registration. And here's the form object, here's the handle submit, and this is the backend URL /API/auth/signup. Similarly, here we are creating this body element with email, password, and user metadata, etc. And upon success, we also push them to the home page or the dashboard. And this is the rest of the form. And this is what I was talking about, the error message coming from the backend using the useState. We just show it right underneath the form right here. And now that you have seen the login and user route, just quickly look at the logout route also. This is also another component that is actually talking to /API/auth/logout. It is also making a post request. So now let's go look at these URLs, endpoints, under here. So let's start with sign up. Pretty simple looking. It's just a post request and receiving all this information as data and using supabase.auth.signup function. And this one is coming from create client, and create client is coming from utils, Supabase, and the server component. And this is the one makes the call to the backend Supabase and signs up the client. And this is how we are handling the error messages. So similarly, let's look into the logout. This is the most simple one. Just supabase.auth.signout. And last but not least, the login. Similarly, we're bringing in the create client. And from the front end, we're collecting the email and password, creating the client, and checking it using supabase.auth.signin with password and putting through the necessary arguments. And in case of failure, we're handling the failure this way. Otherwise, we're sending a 200 message. With that, I conclude this video where we showed how to set up the Next.js 14 project with login, logout, registration, middleware, email validation, etc. Not to mention the light and dark theme. Thanks for watching.